Good afternoon, Tammy. Just want to thank you again for letting me put this video together for you. I'm going to try to make it quick, trying to give you 10 minutes, just kind of overview of just some of the things that I'm seeing um, that can obviously help in different ways. So, uh, obviously, when we're looking at an SEO component to this, I mean, you're already doing pretty well in your area, and there isn't a ton of competition, I would say, within the radius that you are in. So in the Mount Uniacke and up into Windsor and all of kind of surrounding, up until you get to Sackville and Lower Sackville, I'd say you have quite control of the Google Maps in terms of ranking number one. But we're going to go through some different things. So anytime I do one of these, it's not so much just what's technically wrong, what's going, and giving you a list of things that you have to fix on a technical side. It's not really what works. But we want to look at what we can also include and how do we shape this website to perform the best in terms of capturing the interest of potential customers and leading them down a path to booking in. So let's go over some different things. So when we're looking at the website, when we're first getting on here, typically what we would like to do is kind of build up the brand a little bit more instead of just going right into services. So we might not necessarily know what we're talking about when we get to this website. So we need to kind of inform them right away. So we should never have just the services. We should have something at the top that kind of breaks down exactly what it is that you're doing. So, I would prefer if we have a homepage that kind of dedicates to permanent hair removal, okay, and talking about and trying to tie that into right away. I guess the easiest thing for me to do is kind of show you some other websites in other markets that kind of have different components that I believe would work best within this site. But essentially, we don't want to talk about services right away. Um, we kind of want to welcome someone immediately, right? So having this kind of offer, a free consultation, that's something we want to have right at the top. It's right, permanent hair removal solutions or services. Book your 30-minute free consultation. Have a form right here, have a button right here to book. That is just a more ideal user experience to help lead them through a little bit easier. Having a ward that is good. Um, mentioning obviously that you have clients that come from these areas, that is obviously good as well. But we don't have reviews right here or the gate. I have nothing to really talks about you so much or why you. We really want to kind of build that up first before we dive into any of this. So those are some user, sorry, those are some user experience issues. The other thing would be there's no real good call to actions, buttons, and things that are easy to make that call. You have the award here that goes right to book your appointment, but that doesn't really make sense based on just this, right? And then you have it here too. I don't generally like how those are kind of set up. And instead of having like a form that someone could fill out, we just go right into like a newsletter, which I mean, honestly, a lot of people just kind of skip over. Um, so there is a lot of work for the initial experience of someone coming to the site. I want to show you some in New York. Now this is an interesting industry because I went through a few markets like Toronto and Montreal, and the sites are very old school, um, and not couldn't find one that quite matched up to what I would want to build upon. But we want to have more semblance of imagery and ease of navigation, um, and what's being offered. This does a really good job of kind of breaking that down. We have reviews, see like this is really good. We want to really showcase right out of the gate why, right? Why should they go with you? Then some social media stuff, locations, some images of the clinic itself, um, then the blogs. Then they have the newsletter at the bottom, right? So one of the last things, but they have all these different call to actions, uh, things that we can explore a little bit more in depth. See how you book a free consultation right out of the gate here. Boom. that's kind of what we want to be looking at here when we're evaluating this site right here. Okay, like obviously you have it up here, but we want to talk about this is such an important space on the website. So we really want to hit home why you book, right? And then we'd want to talk about your clinic, right? Welcome. I'd like to see some pictures of your clinic. I mean, I don't see that here. Do you have any images or no? So I mean, these are things to think about, right? Like I want to know where I'm going. I want to see some results right away. Um, yeah, I just find it's kind of lacking in that sense. The other thing that I'm going to find that, could be an issue as more competitors start filling in the space is we have electrolysis for every single one of these, and that can become an issue. I think when we're talking about say electrolysis for excess body hair, I mean, realistically, those can be mentioned on things like the men and women pages because, well, at least menopause, right? So like menopause could be mentioned in the women's page. Oop, just one sec, sorry. Um, sorry about that. So electrolysis could be mentioned for menopause and things down on the women's page. What happens is Google can sometimes conflict some of these pages, right? You're almost battling this because there's information that ties together. So I feel like if you had electrolysis for women, kind of push this over here maybe. Electrolysis for teens for the LGBTQ area, and then for men. And then this I would probably mention by its actual, its other name. So this. So just some things to clean up there, just so it's not getting, mixed up or creating any confusion, right? So we want to make it nice and easy to kind of sift through and get what we need. Another one, this isn't great either, but we're talking about permanent hair removal on the home page. We kind of want to separate this because hair removal search term is going to be different than electrolysis, right? So if someone's looking for hair removal is kind of like the broad thing that you kind of do, right? So I'd probably want to focus that on the home page in terms of like, our main heading, hair removal solution, servicing Mount Uniac and all of the specific areas that you do mention. Let's just go here. Just go back, right? So Mount Uniac, Beaver Bank, Sackville, Bedford. You can mention those kind of like right here, right? And then free consultation, book now, form. That's what I'd really love to see. But you see how we're using images. Again, the person that owns the clinic inside doing the work. Um, Video, very good. Here's some other things. Again, a time to kind of think about what you might be able to create within your own clinic for this, right? But talking about the procedures, talking about the environment, um, cost effectiveness compared to other solutions. So you want to have this built into your own page. Builds up trust, builds up a quick understanding, makes it really easy to read and makes it flow, right? Because one of the problems with these pages is they're really kind of just like there's a lot of text. People just they get lost with all this. Ooh, not sure what happened there. They get lost with all of this text. So we want to make it easy for them to be broken down. Now, you have kind of like some questions here. It's kind of all over the place, right? I mean, I would have like an FAQ section that might have this and some other questions down here, maybe in like an accordion type thing. But there's just kind of a semblance of mixed matches all over the place. There's no call to action buttons here, like maybe book now, right? There's nothing in there. So they have to scroll, and even then down here, they just have this. So it gets confusing, okay? It's not set up as well as it should be in comparison to, you know, some of these in terms of making it just a little bit easier to explore and go a little bit more um, in depth to what's being offered as a whole, right? So this is another thing, talking about the advantages, and here we're kind of comparing the different solutions. So waxing, laser hair, electrolysis, something like this is great because this gives someone a complete overview right away of why they should be doing electrolysis versus um, the other methods, right? And then we look at solutions, right, for all the different things. So then we start talking about this. So you can see how we're in talking about transition, we're talking about different types. So they start getting into this from the main electrolysis page, which is really great. Areas we treat. See how much easier it is? It's so much easier to absorb what's going on. Pricing, super important. We want to know the pricing before we get into anything. And then see how you have FAQs, right? Lots of FAQs. You might not need that many FAQs. Okay. This is a big page, but it makes it very easy to get everything that I need and learn and see and do. And it's got everything. There's really not much else you can put within this information, but it's easy to navigate. It's easy to read. It's easy to get an idea of why we should be doing electrolysis compared to other methods. So I want you to think about how that looked, how that was structured, and then get an idea of what that might have to look like on these pages. Okay. I'm running a little over, so I apologize for that, but I do want to show you some of the map stuff and one key thing that I think is coming up that is super important. So one of the first ones I looked at was the electrolysis. So what this is called the geogrid. And this shows me kind of where you rank in maps across a specific radius, okay? So we can see here your number one versus some of these other ones, okay? So that's obviously really good. You can see where it starts falling off a little bit. Um, as you start getting into more heavily populated areas from, upper Sackville down to lower Sackville and so on. But here's one thing I want to show you. So when we look at you here, we have hair removal services is the main category in our Google business profile. Okay. But the vast majority of them have electrolysis hair removal service. Okay. So this can have an impact overall in your ranking because they have a more specific category set up as their main tie-in to electrolysis. Right now, they might be doing other things, but you can see how they're using this, but we're only using the hair removal service, right? Then we have it again, we have it again. If we go back, let me just see here. Let's go into lower sock and see if there's any other changes. So these ones obviously have a little bit more in terms of spa and things, but we're seeing more and more of this category. So from what I can tell, this would be the most ideal category for you to have in place when we're talking about electrolysis. So I would still have the hair removal service, right? I would still have this as you have it, but I would add a secondary Google business category for electrolysis hair removal service, and then I would start talking about all of this electrolysis for teens, electrolysis for men, electrolysis for different parts of the body, right? For, say, face, chin, lips, all of that. That's where I would likely put in um, those specific types of categories and services to match that up. That's going to have a big influence on that. Um, Blog, I see that you're blogging, so that's good. You're touching upon a lot of methods. Electrolysis versus other methods. Sorry, I didn't see this before, but this is a lot of information. It's kind of like, again, it's just a lot to kind of take in with the color scheme. I'll be honest with you. The purple on this color is it kind of just blends in. It's very difficult to read. So there's things like that that probably would, I could definitely use a different approach. I think having like a darker background, like purple, and then having some white text, that might be easier to actually see, or purple on white. But I find this very difficult. And just kind of, we need more images to break things up. Just a lot of information, right? You see how like we're talking like this, like how this is just, oh, I can't even read it to be honest with you. But then if we look at where we had this, right? What an easy way to make this distinction. So much easier for a user, right? So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the user experience on your website. How do we improve? How do we add some more of these components that I kind of broke down within this video? But then, like I said, this is going to be a big one in terms of a quick fix for you on Google Maps, because adding this and then adding in all those services that are specific to electrolysis, I think that will probably give you a little bit of a rebound here when we're looking at this area, right? I don't think it will have much impact here because uh, in terms of negative impact, because there's not much competition up in these areas, right? This is where your competition is as soon as you start getting into more heavily populated areas. So changing your category to match the competition here could easily start moving you in a higher direction here. And if you're getting more people in this area, you're going to start generating some more business, or at least leads coming in and contacting you, right? So then if we have everything else kind of situated on the website, like I mentioned, to build up that social proof, to get people where they need to be easier, to book in a little bit easier, answer questions that I need kind of right away, including costs and things like that, that'll lead to more people booking in. So those are kind of my quick big tips. Sorry, I went over a little bit. Takes a little bit sometimes to kind of break down and explain these things, but overall, like I said, you're doing well in maps. Those components can help you do a little bit better. And then building the website or structuring the website a little differently to help break up all this information, include these comparisons, make it easy for them to understand why electrolysis, why should they be doing this over other things, right? Because that's their big concern. They have questions, they want them answered. Do it in a way that makes it easy. It's bite sized, they can absorb it. And then because of that ease, they makes it easy for them to go and book. So I hope that makes sense. Hope that helps. And obviously, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out or ask me. More than happy to follow up with you with that. So yeah, hope that helps, and look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Tammy.